Big man and woman and non-binary folk them. As you may know, my name is foreign, but you may not know that I'm a recovering bigot.
What? Oh no. I know.
Now this ain't no sympathy video for me trying to meet the basic standards of being a decent human being, right? This is an accountability video. Y'all are my support group and y'all have helped me more than you probably even know. But in order for y'all to continue helping me, you probably want to know what I'm recovering from in the first place. And that's why I'm sharing one of my deepest and darkest secrets with you. And all I ask for in return is just one thing. This is one thing. No, it's not to watch the video all the way through and leave a comment in appeasement for the almighty algorithm, because you're going to do that anyway, right? But it's to be patient with me, because I'm not perfect and I'm still struggling in a lot of cases with these harmful habits. Now, when I tell Americans that I grew up in the Bahamas, immediately they fawn over the mere idea of living in the Caribbean. And as they should, it's literal paradise. Leaving your house and walking barefoot across the road to dive into limpid salt waters. The warm and jovial greetings of the perfect passerby that's as foreign to you as snow, and snow being foreign to you because every inch of these beautiful Bahama lands is covered with sun. Those are some of the best parts of growing up in the Caribbean. But it does come with some caveats. And I know I risk in my Caribbean card just speaking about this. But I have to be honest with you. I ain't talking about the lack of resources or the abundance of incompetent governance or the occasional natural disaster that exacerbates both of the former. I'm talking about something that is far more pernicious. Above all, I want to be a person that you can be proud of. I want you to be able to say that you know foreign with no hesitation at all. But this might make you wince. I ain't gonna lie. Despite being a political scientist, I really don't talk that much about politics on this channel. And that's because the more that I learn, the more I realize that I don't know anything. And I definitely would love to make a video detailing my political journey and transformation in a lot of cases this far. But it will get me into some issues with the university. But more importantly, the reason why I haven't made that video as of yet is because I don't really know what I am. And that's a scary thing to say, because a lot of people come here because I am a political scientist. So to say that I don't know something in particular may make you dubious of how faithful you can be in foreign. But I'd rather you do that than confidently claim that I know everything about politics, because I don't. But what I can tell you is this. The Bahamas and the Caribbean in general actually is a rather socially conservative place. Mind you now, we love our welfare institutions, but guess what? When it comes to socially, we're not the most progressive bunch. And we're gonna unpack why exactly that is in this video. But before that, I wanna show you how that can manifest itself into bigotry. More importantly, the conundrum that I face being a Caribbean man. This channel has evolved a lot since its inception. We've gone from discussing obeah, actually we still discuss that quite a bit, to saving Caribbean culture with commentary. But there were a great deal of pitfalls during that transition. There are videos that I have made that are full of bad takes, because given my socially conservative background and upbringing, it attracted an audience that reflected that. Coming from the Caribbean, we would say things casually that weren't always the kindest. Putting it mildly, homophobic, sexist, and transphobic language is bound to adorn your average Caribbean conversation. For example, one of my favorite Bahamian phrases is, "You liking man." And we pretty much use this as a placeholder for someone doing something that we consider to be bad. So if you see me wearing this Adidas tracksuit and you go out and you wear the same tracksuit, I would say that you liking man because you following man. But of course, that statement literally is equating being homosexual with bad behavior. And I used to say that saying things like this is fine because, I'm not saying it to someone that's actually gay, so, it's not harming anyone. And then I carried a lot of these culturally bigoted customs to the States. And for the most part, really people didn't mind that much. This is Iowa, of course. But that all changed when you came into the picture. I personally read every comment, even the nasty ones, and I respond to almost every one of them because I genuinely enjoy getting to know you. But there was this one comment that actually hurt me. It got to me, and I have very thick skin, so you have to really say something in order for it to get to me. And the reason why it got to me is because it was true. I won't display the comment, but essentially it was one of my older videos, and it basically said that my take came off rather bigoted and homophobic. And the take was basically that I referred to this Caribbean content creator, a really popular one, that asked rather a feat. And I said that his popularity was a sign of progress, that the Caribbean was actually moving towards being more inclusive by having someone that is visibly gay so popular. And the commenter claimed that that was rather insensitive of me and irresponsible of me because I don't know if that person is out of the closet or not. Therefore, I can very well be putting that person in danger. And it was at that moment that I realized that I'm fostering an environment that I claim that I'm trying to dismantle. I want this to be a community that people feel free in expressing themselves and a community that is aseptic of bigotry. But me making those comments or even saying things like liking man is bigotry. I apologize to that commenter and thank them as well because they were absolutely right. And it really made me reflect on addressing my inherent homophobia. First, by admitting that I very well may hold homophobic biases that I'm not even cognizant of because of the place that I grew up. So I actively sought out content from a queer perspective. Notably people like Cat Black, Jessie Gender, Samantha Lux. And when I engaged with their content, the community was so inviting to someone that was just simply trying to understand their perspective. It actually reminded me a lot of the Caribbean and how people are so warm without the bigotry and without, that underlying sick feeling of, what that person just said was kind of disgusting. And I realized that that's the type of people that I want around me. I don't want hateful and closed-minded people in this community. I don't make content for them. I want people that are accepting of different walks of life and tolerant of different perspectives and able and sharing and willing to share their culture with other people. Because I would have never understood some of the obstacles that trans folk are trying to surmount had I not watched someone like Cat Black or Jessie Gender. And most importantly, I would have never known that I do things unconsciously that contribute to an unsafe and harmful environment for marginalized minorities. So when you big me up for being inclusive and saying big man and woman and non-binary folk, I always feel a bit ambivalent when you say that because I know I'm not there yet. And that's okay because I'm willing to learn and you're here to also help me. So please do not be afraid to call me out on my inevitable skullduggery because I need that. I need that in order to grow. But one of the most difficult parts about this journey, and I really need you to help me with it, is that I'm struggling with two different realities. My cultural integrity that I'm trying to preserve and the cultural bigotry that I'm trying to expel. Because as you know, this channel is about Caribbean culture. And unfortunately, a lot of these cultural institutions are tainted with bigotry. So my dilemma is, how do I compromise my cultural identity enough that I can be inclusive, but at the same time remain authentic to it? And in order to understand that, we need to understand what are these cultural institutions that are bolstering bigotry.
I found it, babe. I found it.
Jamal drops his cup of coffee without a care because Rico's screams are far more urgent than his Starbucks tumbler. He saunters across the one-bedroom apartment in Tennessee and finds Jamal facing his laptop insensibly. Jamal lingers by the door with fear. Rico, what happened? But Rico is far too fixated on the screen to even acknowledge Jamal's presence. He creeps over Rico's shoulder, and suddenly, their hearts synchronize with mirth because they finally found what they had been looking for since they got married in Massachusetts. How do you pronounce that word? A beautiful guest house that's actually in their budget in the countryside of Tennessee. They scour the page looking for something, anything that will prove this find to be too good to be true. But after searching for months, they had finally found the perfect place to spend their delayed honeymoon. Hand in hand with wedding bands inscribed with their names, they walk into the guest house. And as soon as they open the door, their smiles evaporate like morning dew on the lawn. A window opens in Jamal and Rico's hearts. Everyone can see they're blown apart. Everyone could feel the wind blow. Excuse me, but would you gentlemen by any chance be gay? That window shatters, and an all too familiar feeling befalls the newlyweds. Before they can even answer, the owner says that the only way that they can stay is if they sleep in separate rooms and refrain from sexual activity. With a simper, the owner says that this here is a godly establishment, and while I hate the sin, I do not hate the sinner. His refusal to accept this couple is warranted by law in Tennessee, so he feels emboldened in his position. And cut. Mind you now, this is in the States. There are nine nations in the Caribbean that still have a criminal penalty for buggery. Interestingly enough, it's of course former British colonies. But I ain't picking on the Brits today. They get a blight today because today I dealing with the church. Sorry, Nana, the church got to hold these hands real quick. This is a very sensitive and nuanced issue, so I'm gonna shelve my typical color today and give you the raw and unfettered facts. The Roman Catholic Church welcomes gay and lesbian people, so long as they are celibate. You may have heard of the Catechism, this text that holds all of the teachings and the dogmas of the Catholic Church. Well, they deem homosexual acts to be intrinsically immoral and contrary to natural law. Homosexual tendencies are objectively disordered. However, they don't consider homosexual orientation to be a sin in and of itself. I'm just as confused as you are. It goes back to that popular refrain that you hate the sin, not the sinner. But of course, the ambivalence does not end there. The Catechism claims that homosexual people are called to chastity. And at the same time, such persons must be accepted with respect and sensitivity. Every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. And not to anybody's surprise, there's an absolute dearth in a statement on their stance in regards to trans folk. The Catholic Church is arguably the most influential religious body around the world. Hence, the Pope is arguably regarded as the singular most ecclesiastical figure next to Jesus. And to their credit now, they have adopted their stances on LGBTQA since their inception. They've moved with the times. But the master's tools will never dismantle their house. And especially not the house of God. And let me tell you something. If you think it's bad in the States, it's worse in the Caribbean. I can speak candidly on the Bahamas. And I have to be very careful with what I'm saying, because you understand, as a de facto ambassador of the great nation of the Bahamas, I need you to understand that you have to be comfortable to come to the Bahamas. You have to. And I could honestly say that you will be hard pressed to find a prevalence of homosexual hate crimes in the Bahamas. You're not going to find a bunch of them. You might find one or two. If you go back in the books, you might find one or two. What a time when Rosie O'Donnell came on that cruise one time and they was chatting all. But you ain't gonna find no hate crimes. You ain't gonna find that much. Not a lot of them, I think. However, I can say that our culture makes queer people feel extremely comfortable. Homosexuality is often mocked in the Bahamas. Despite there being a sizable gay community kind of underground in the Bahamas, the availability of resources for queer people is definitely scarce. So while we're not openly condemning queer people in the Bahamas, we're also not embracing their presence or advertising the Bahamas as a place where they would be extremely welcomed. And another thing that contributes to an environment that is probably not the most comfortable for queer people in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean in general is the music. So, in the struggle between cultural identity and cultural compromise, I literally just made it up just now, there are parts of Caribbean culture that I love and I'm very passionate about. And then there's the bigotry. Then there's the in-between, like that little mishmash in music, Caribbean music. You may have heard of Buju Banton. I really can't defend Buju, but we about to get into Buju Banton. This man is one of the most seminal, influential, prolific artists in reggae and dancehall. His discography is scattered with dancehall anthems that have shouted anywhere in the Caribbean. You can expect a call and response. But one of these very seminal tunes is Bum Bye Bye. And I gotta explain why I'm not very happy that is one of his most seminal tunes. And I don't give no trigger warnings because it's actually proven that they exacerbate your condition and trauma more than actually giving you a trigger warning. But take this sentence right here as a trigger warning, please. Boom bye bye in a batty boy ed. Rude boy, no promote. The nasty man them half he dead. This tune is abhorrent. It literally aged like milk in the deserts of Saudi Arabia. And I want you to appreciate. I don't want no pats on the back in it, but I just want you to appreciate the danger that I am putting, the jeopardy that I am putting myself in by saying that this song is abhorrent. Like big man and woman and non-binary folk them. Let me tell you something. If I happy I over foreign right now, because if I was in the Bahamas right now and fellas them saw that I put out this video saying that Buju Banton song after dead and all, ooh, murder. But if these lyrics need any more expounding or further elucidation, it's basically saying that Buju is basically saying that gay men have to die. Jesus Christ, man. How you right? So you mean to tell me this boy was in the studio, we had a rhythm, and this boy was just like writing, and he was just like, yeah, Dread, the gay fellas, them after dead. Why, boy? Like, why? You so talented. Why? Yet, this is an anthem. This is literally an anthem. And there are plenty of arguments in defense of this tune, and they're mostly rooted in either cultural or metaphorical groundings. They're basically either saying that there's a cultural relevance to the song, or that Buju saying that he was basically speaking in metaphor, that he actually didn't literally mean you have to go there and fire and brimstone. You understand what I'm saying? And we've heard defenses of rather abhorrent and repugnant things before, like in the video, the commodification video. I ain't even gonna try to say it no more, but the commodification video that I put out a couple of weeks back, when basically you had Dr. Dre defending gangster rap. And the argument was basically that this is entertainment. This should not be taken literally. We don't cancel directors for depicting violence. No, we give them Emmys and Grammys or whatever it is, give directors at these award shows. I ain't watched one of them in a long time. So why should this Caribbean classic be cancelled? To ignore the impact of pop culture on culture is irresponsibly ignorant or dangerously dishonest. We make the art, and then the art makes us. That's a bastardization of Churchill's quote that basically says that we make buildings and the buildings shape us. We make the art, and then the art shapes society. It's a sinuous system that artists perpetuate. So we as artists have a responsibility to make art that doesn't advocate for the worst of the human condition. But is that to say that art that depicts the human condition negatively, like drill rap, like UK drill or gangster rap, should that not be made? So there's this conundrum that we face when we deal with the dark side of culture. How do we depict it? I mean, do you want to put a disclaimer on it so that we can make sure that the general public understands that this isn't literal? Because we know, even though if we put a disclaimer on it, people still could go and do some skullduggery anyway. Should the actions that other people do in the name of art be ascribed to the artists themselves? Which brings us to the battle of Caribbean homophobia, in which we fight a two-front war. The ecclesiastical inculcation that condemns queer people, that has also infected the rhetoric of our music, which is an integral part of our cultural identity. And in this fight, we have two types of ammo. We have time and we have discourse. The younger generation, as well as the older generation with progressive minds like Gus and them, they're waking up to it. They're seeing things for what they are. And I like to think that we will be the status quo of the future. Soon it wouldn't be a popular opinion that gay enfranchisement is an abomination. Alas, we can't only depend on time, because time alone didn't bring about civil rights or women's suffrage. It took discourse. Very uncomfortable and oftentimes demonstrative discourse. And I'm ready to have those conversations. I'm ready to listen when I need to and bellow when I have to. Because I was, and in some cases I still am, a bigot. But the only difference now is that I'm actively trying to change that. So I know what it is to recite those harmful and offensive lyrics without thinking that they're harming anyone, because I'm not directly saying it to someone that is queer. And I now understand that that still contributes to a harmful environment for queer people. I'm still learning. And none of you all have to feel obligated to send me all kind of resources and things like that in the comments, because, that's not your responsibility. I can do research. I know how to use Google. But if you feel compelled, or if you would love to send me anything that would help me in this journey, I absolutely encourage you to. And while you're at it, top that because that's a blast from the past. But it's a case back from my true crime days of, well, it relates to this video in some strange way. I'll let you understand that when you click on that. I ain't want to spoil it from you. I can see in that one.